Hmm. It's an interesting pack. Um, the Fiend Slayer Paladin's pretty strong, especially with all the auras. The only cards I would consider here really, and again, it's based on my limited experience. I've only done the set 4 or 5 times so far. I've done slivers and then like blue X, black X stuff. So I know those things are all pretty strong. Not been a fan of illusionary armor. Usually it's kind of like a lava X and blue, but then it dissipates. Geyser's obviously strong. Um, Quag Cygnus is the only decent black card, so it has that in its favor. Master Diversions is pretty decent, especially if you're on the sliver plan. Um, but this guy just does a lot of work in my experience. So I'm gonna pick him, pick him up and see if we can get into kind of an aggressive white-blue strategy, because we're not passing anything that's an incredibly strong signal. Hmm. I really want this card to be good, but I haven't figured out if it's decent yet. If we're going the sliver route, this guy's decent and it's an uncommon. This, I hate passing two Master of Diversions. It's not going to put the Prison Door left in white unless they had some decent white, but um, like the Doomblade is significantly better than the Master, and so I think I have to take it here and be willing to abandon the Fiendslayer Paladin if it doesn't come around. None of the other cards are quite on the level of Doomblade here. And we have a good removal spell in white and a good one in black. Um, this is such a great tempo play if you can hit it on turn 5 into something like a Mind Rot or a Grim Return or something. Um, that having been said, Celestial Flare does some stuff that none of the other cards in this set do. It's good at dealing with cards like Seraph of the Sword and Colossal Whale, which is the 2 times I've got any mileage out of it. But I think this is a really tough choice. I've passed 2 Masters already, and I think passing Liturgy is probably more of a signal than passing Flare, so I take the Liturgy here. And I don't want to say we're rewarded, but I get decent stuff in black, decent stuff in blue, and we may end up abandoning that Fiendslayer after all. Tenacious Dead's actually not bad. It has a lot of synergy with the sacrificing vampire as well. Deathcake Gaze Cockatrice is pretty strong. Festering Newt's surprisingly strong. And if you can pick up a Cauldron or two and you have 3 or 4 Newts, that's a thing. It's real. Whether that's better than Deathcake's Cockatrice, I don't know. I haven't tried it out before, so I'm going to see what happens when I prioritize Newts a little higher than some of these other cards that are probably better in the abstract. So actually there's some decent white stuff here. This card's pretty hard to get working, but it also comes late. If I get 2 Cauldrons in the draft, I consider running it, but it's not amazing. This leaves me with Dawnstrike Paladin, which is fairly strong. Capuchin Knight, which I'm not sure how good it is. My inclination is that it's not great. And Undead Minotaur as a Riot Devils just does a lot of work. I'm a little scared to see these cards still here. Hopefully there are a couple people fighting over those colors. I don't think the Minotaur is a signal. Paladin, not so much either. Oh my gosh. Well, that's a risk of streaming, I guess. Not a fan of Blessing, even though it was once a rare. This is actually, a 4/6 is actually very reasonable in this format. I'm not certain that it's better than Griffin Sentinel. But there are a lot of 1/3 flyers. The only real 2/1 flyer around. This shouldn't be this late. This is a really strong card in this format. Maybe it's a sign to switch to blue, but I've passed a lot of decent blue dispersers and divinations. I think I take the Minotaur Abomination here over the Sentinel. I'm not a huge fan of the Sentinel in this particular format, even though I like it in a lot of other cases. We're not really a fortified deck. We are potentially an Undead Minotaur deck. I do need Burning Earth, but it's like 0.3 of a tick, so we'll go ahead and pass that up for now. And it's not clear what our second color is, if anything. This is a nice sideboard card if we stay in white. This is this the pack I opened? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, yeah. No, maybe not. Seacoast Drake is actually reasonable. I don't think we're going to end up in blue, but I can always pick up another Solemn Offering, so I'm going to pick up this Drake just in case. And interesting. I really think this card is better than that. This doesn't do anything too crazy, does it? Nope. Take the Master of Divination and be happy about it. Now here, I've got 7 decent playable cards. The Ox is not something I'm going to be happy to play. And I might still be in blue, even though I have 2 white cards that I'm pretty fond of, so I'm probably going to just take the Divination here over the Pillarfield Ox. Wall of Frost is likewise very strong, especially if I end up in blues. So now I'm actually, this seems strange that I've got to make a pick in one direction or the other at this point in the draft, but I think this is the point where I lean one direction or the other, and it's going to be with the Show of Valor. And a nice foil island. Armored Cancrix is decent, but I'm not scared of playing against it. I'd love a Frost Breath if I end up in blue. Staff is unplayable. So we have actually only 8 cards for the deck. Either way, whether I go white or blue, it's only 8 cards. I probably should have a 9th card, but I'm still not used to talking and making decisions at the same time. So we got that Lay of the Land instead. Highly unfortunate. Now, Claustrophobia. Clones, I guess there aren't really any relevant legends anyway. Clone's still a very strong card. It's just always their best creature that they have out. But I'm already in white, and I'm never sad to see a pacifism. Even though, I mean, there are cards that are stronger. Briarpack Alpha is definitely stronger. But that's probably the only card I would consider taking over pacifism anyway. Maybe Clone, but I tend to overvalue Clone, so I'll take the pacifism. And get past an opportunity. So here the question is, do I take the Dawnstrike Paladin and pass someone the opportunity? I might be in a situation now where I want to take the opportunity and talk about splashing cards like pacifism. Because opportunity is so much more powerful than any other card here. Even though, again, Undead Minotaur is fine, but I think I get greedy and take this, and this could be where I go off the rails a little bit, but we are getting some blue here. Ring Flesh is decent removal. Celestial Flare is great removal. Scroll Thief and Train Condor are fine. Yeah, I think I'm getting myself into trouble here. I really need to commit. 2, 3, 4, 4, 4, 4, and 5. in terms of colors here. It seems blue's very open, and black is not, even though we didn't pass a lot of great stuff. Ring Flesh is a fine combat trick, but Celestial Flare is just better, and I think I'm just gonna let that go over these two blue cards. Here's where I could make the swing over into blue-black and let the white go. Well, too late. Yeah, that's alright. Kind of been some dicey decisions here. Always happy to play a Curse Spirit. Blade Tusk Boar was an amazing card, and this card is equally strong. And I don't have a lot of slivers, so it's definitely stronger than either of these. I like Ring Flesh a lot, but it doesn't kill a lot in this set, so... Here we have the choice between... Oh, interesting. Shock is still there. So whenever I cast an enchantment, I may have a creature get -2/-2. What enchantments do I have? Just pacifism. I can prioritize other enchantments, but that's not really a phenomenal strategy. Stonehorn Chanter can really swing a game around, and Bloodbaron's decent if I pick up a skeleton. So I think I take the Stonehorn Chanter here over the Blightcaster. I'm not sure if that's correct. The Blood Baron would also be fine, but... And I'm just not gaining a lot of life. Well, every time I attack with the Stonehorn Chanter, I get this, but I still think it's too situational. And I really like the Minotaur Abomination, as I said before. Duress is fine. There are a lot of enchantments in this set, a lot of spells. Never upset to play Duress. But since we're definitely not in blue, it's not the end of the world to take the Griffin Sentinel here. Because we will see another Duress. We'll probably see another of each of these cards, and I don't want to overload on 6 drops. I'll take the Sentinel there. And... wow. Blue is still pretty open. I probably made a mistake by staying in white. How good is a Quarter Shield in this deck? It may not be terrible. Having a 4/9, it's better than Auramancer. I'll say that. Do I have any triggered abilities? I've got my Newt. I've got my Divination. How many creatures do I have? 8 creatures, so Fortify isn't amazing either. It's not a bad trick. I may pick up some interesting abilities I can use. And I'm more of a controlling deck, so Fortify is not amazing. I am so incredibly surprised to see Clone here. I think I must be overvaluing it way too much. I almost think I splash Clone here. Mind Rot's fine. I'll see another Mind Rot. This is so greedy, but I think I take the Clone. And... probably not running Suntail Hawk, but we can take it. Well, I actually have a perpetual fear of Quicken in large ever since that happened to me at the pre-release. I think Suntail Hawk is probably strictly better. There's no equipment to pump it up, but... this card is fine. It does a lot of work. I don't want 2 of them, though. Well, if there's a really strong red deck, I could... no, I'm not going to run 2. Add to my Apostle collection. So we're pretty low on cards right now. We need to pick up 6 playables at least, ideally 7 or 8, because I really don't want a Suntail Hawk in there. I probably shouldn't be splashing blue, despite having the opportunity. And it looks like it's actually black that dried up, rather than white. I got some decent white there, but oh my gosh, you're killing me. I don't think there's a world in which I can justify picking a Festering Newt over a Mineseeker. This card is just amazing. I've never had it be anything other than a blowout when it's cast against me. So what this means is I'm actually splashing... wow. This is interesting. Okay. So it looks like I'm actually splashing black. So we're looking at Opportunity, Divination here, Seacoast Drake, probably Frost Breath, possibly still the Accursed Spirit. I don't really want to double up on Liturgy, but I might. So let's pull that out for now and assume I'm not going to run it. We'll see what happens. This is a lot better in Limited than anywhere else. But the question is whether it's better than something giving me a really quick Mineseeker. I mean, a Windrake is always a fine creature in its own right. I think, though, because this is really only accelerating me once, a quasi-removal spell against a lot of decks in the format is slightly better than a Windrake. Especially when I can just pick a Windrake up. Is a Windrake better than an Essence Scatter or a Sensory Deprivation? I think in this deck it has to be because it's not a great deck. And I will happily take another Master of Diversion. And there's that Pillarfield Ox that I passed so long ago. If I were in black, I'd pick up a Nightwing Shade. But I think I just take the Ox here. Brave the Elements isn't amazing in this deck. So you see how things really kind of went off the rails because I just misevaluated a lot of the black cards. And I passed, multiple 2/1 flyers, 1/3 flyers. But when things didn't go my way, they didn't work out the way I wanted them to, I just had to... Wow. Let's... I mean, actually, Vampire Warlord's a fine card, especially if I have multiple Festering Newts, which I would have if I stuck to black, but at this point I've really, I've made my commitment. I passed the Nightmare. I don't think anyone's going to be in mono black, but it's possible. I haven't seen many black cards, but I didn't see them coming either direction, pack 2 or 3, which suggests to me that there's just not one seat across the table who's eating all the cards. And I really don't want to be running that Suntail Hawk. So I'm kind of looking at, well, this is a really tough choice. How much removal do I have? I've got a Pacifism, a Flare, a Doomblade. So 3 removal. Claustrophobia is strictly amazing removal, but I don't have a lot of great creatures either. And Water Servant just does everything. So I think I actually take the Water Servant over the Claustrophobia, even though Claustrophobia is an amazing piece of removal. Water Servant just does more work overall. And I'm thrilled, well, thrilled to see either of these cards. Disperse does a good job of getting rid of enchantments, but Archaeomancer gets back the Doomblade. It doesn't do a lot, actually. It gets back the Opportunity, but if I've Opportunity'd once, I probably don't need Opportunity twice. And take the Essence Scanner to run over the Suntail Hawk happily. Train Condor is fine. So let's see, I cut the Suntail Hawk. Likely want to cut the Accorder's Shield. So I don't think I cut, yeah. I think I take the Condor here, take the Negate. And the question is, I've got 13 creatures, how good is Pay No Heed? It's probably pretty strong, I guess. The shield makes the Stonehorn, Chanter, the Jace's Mindseeker. It makes them really legitimate threats. But at the same time, it's not... it's just not an amazing card. It's not doing anything great for me. Especially in this deck, where most of my early spells aren't really aggressive, and... yeah, I think I cut the shield. But I'll keep the Pay No Heed just because it does a lot. We did see a couple lava axes and volcanic, whatever, what you gonna call it, thrown around there. Not thrilled with the deck, to be honest. Really not thrilled. But that's what happens when you don't commit. Especially in a core set, you can get punished pretty easily. Now the Train Condor. Now I have a Trained Condor, 2 Master of Diversions, a Jace's Mindseeker, and a Tidebinder Mage, all of which combo with the Strionic Resonator. So in this deck, my question is the Resonator stronger by virtue of copying these abilities than the Pay No Heed? I'm almost never going to trigger it on the Mindseeker. I mean, if I have 8 mana up and I rip it, that's great. This seems like a win more card. But I can see situations where I'd bring it in. But I think we go ahead and